Your blood runs orange and blue. This is the pod for you. You're listening to Orange and Blue Bloods, hosted by EJ Stewart and Tommy Beer. Let's get to it, New York.
Speaking of Carmelo Anthony, Knicks fans across the world are still celebrating Carmelo after he announced his retirement earlier this week. The team posted a video montage of Knicks legends like Patrick Ewing, Clyde Frazier, Allen Houston, and John Starks congratulating Melo on his retirement. This week, SNY's Ian Bailey is reporting that there is growing momentum within the organization to retire Carmelo Anthony's number. So I was a little surprised at how controversial this topic became on social media and among airwaves across New York City. So I'll ask you, Tommy, should the Knicks retire Carmelo Anthony's number?
I go back and forth on this. I don't have a strong opinion. I've seen some people get so worked up, like I'll never be a fan again if they retire his number, or I'll protest the Garden if they don't retire his number. Like I get it. It's maybe your favorite player. You'd like to see his, but I can't get that worked up about it. So I could be convinced one way or the other. I've given it some thought. I don't really have. It's kind of like what's your criteria for putting a guy up on the Ring of Honor or the Hall of Fame? The retired his jersey. I'll just say this: if they retire his number, they should obviously retire Bernard King's as well.
Absolutely.
So I don't know if they're going to do one first and the other, but there will be a segment of fans that will be upset if they retire Bernard King and not Melo, and vice versa. If they announce they're going to retire Anthony, a lot of fans, and rightfully so, are going to demand that they retire Bernard King's as well. But again, is Carmelo Anthony more deserving of having his number retired than Charles Oakley? It depends on what you value and playoff runs. We know that.
I know one person who doesn't think that Oakley should have his number retired. James Dolan.
Because of that, Oakley will never have his jersey retired. But what about Starks? The Starks deserve. It's like, should you get your number retired for your fan favorite? Should you get your number retired if you never made it past the second round of the playoffs and only made it past the first round of the playoffs once? All that stuff kind of gets weighed into it. Ultimately, sure, retire his number. If it makes fans happy, that's cool, and I have no problem with it. I don't feel all that strongly. I wish I had a hot take, and I wish I was fired up about it, but to be honest, I don't. It doesn't really affect me one way or the other. So I understand their arguments pro and against. I probably lean towards pro because I'm not as strict a grader when it comes to getting guys jerseys retired. But again, it's imperative if you retire his number that you also get a Bernard King jersey up in the rafters.
Yeah, I mean, to me, retiring Carmelo Anthony's number has been a no-brainer for me for a long time, which is why I don't know why people are upset about it, because to me, it's really simple. Carmelo Anthony, during his prime with the New York Knicks, was one of the best players in the NBA. And in the era that he played, which is, let's take the 20 years of Knick history while he was there, he had the most success of any Knick player that played during that time. So unless you're going to say no player that played in that era because there were losses that happened should have their number retired, that's one thing. But I just don't agree with that. Again, I think that it's to keep comparing what Carmelo Anthony accomplished in terms of wins, which again, it's weird because it's a team sport, and say, well, what about the guys who are also up there, the guys who won titles in the 70s? It doesn't compute to me. It doesn't make any sense. That's a different era of Knicks basketball. But if that was the case, if all we value is championships, then why don't we have all 12 men who were on the 73 team and all 12 men who were on the 1970 team? Why don't we put all their numbers in the rafters? No, there's a part of it that is how you were as an individual. Like we do put up banners. 73 and 70 are up there. Those are championship team banners. We honor those teams. And those guys who are on those teams, we brought them back this year in to celebrate the 1973 team. So we have an honor for that. This is individual achievement. This is not what you won as a title. None of that matters. And if you're talking about what Melo accomplished as a Knick, one of the all-time leading scorers, most points ever at the Garden, most points ever by a Knick. In the era that he played, he was the only Knick star to lead his team past the first round of the playoffs. It may not sound like a lot, but that's just the reality of the Knicks situation. For 20 years, they only went to past the first round of the NBA playoffs twice. That's just a fact. So to say that everything I watched and everything that happened during that era doesn't matter is nonsense. And I don't understand it. Now, I think it's very clear that Bernard King should have his number up there first because he's been waiting a lot longer. And to me, in some ways, him and Melo are very similar. They're guys who won one playoff series. Teams weren't that great, but individually, it was no question that they were dominant. I think there's a little more sentimental value to Bernard because Bernard played so hard. Bernard was so tough. Bernard had a little bit of a. There was Carmelo is a little Hollywood, and there was nothing Hollywood about Bernard King. So it's very easy to get behind Bernard King being up there. But like, if you look at their numbers and you look at what they accomplished, they're very similar. So if you're saying, well, Bernard King should be up there, but Melo shouldn't, I don't quite understand that. I think that they're both similar players. I think it's neck and neck. You want to say who was the better Knick. I understand if you say Bernard. I've made the case for Melo in the last podcast episode. But like, to me, this thing that Melo shouldn't have his number is like ridiculous. Like, he also took the challenge to come to New York. How many times did we say stars, were ducking New York City? They didn't want the pressure. They didn't want all the expectations. Here's a guy that came here. He produced individually. He did lead the team past first round of the playoffs. One of the years he was here, the only time any other player had done that until Julius Randle did it in 2023. Randle and Brunson since 2000. I mean, I don't understand. I don't understand the case not to put him up there in the rafters. It's crazy.
Yeah, I guess the only argument would be you just want to make it really selective. But again, to your point, it's not like the guys up there, are all, it's not like it's not like they only have three guys up there: Ewing, Reed, and Frazier. And the Busher. There's a bunch of other. Bill Bradley's up there, obviously.
Right.
So it's that's that.
Yeah, we got Dick McGuire's up there. Like,
right.
Like, we didn't say, oh, only guys who won championships or only guys that were the best players on championship teams. Like, we didn't do that. So with Melo, why is now there all this? And I think for me, what I can gather when I'm hearing these cases is, well, when Melo came here, there was expectation that the Knicks were going to be a championship team. And that's not true. Like, I'm sorry. Like, that is ludicrous. The Miami Heat had a juggernaut in the Eastern Conference.
Yes.
Getting Carmelo Anthony was essentially the Knicks giving themselves a puncher's chance to compete at the top level. And that's what they did. They had a puncher's chance. One year they were in the mix and then they fell a little short. Other years they made the playoffs, got knocked out of the first round. But this thing, I think they're putting expectations on Melo like he should have accomplished more. No, I don't really know. I think he accomplished what he was supposed to, given the player that he was.
100%. Everyone hoped that he would make the Knicks relevant again because they were irrelevant laughing stock for 10 years. Every year they were terrible. They were awful. They were unwatchable, and he made them watchable and relevant and fun and exciting and all that other stuff. And nobody expected him to beat the super team Heat.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. And the fact that he was so good in 2013 that people actually believed that they could beat that Heat team shows you how good that he was. Like I was saying, if the Knicks at the Heat, I think they could beat them. Like, that's how great Melo's playing. That's how great this team is playing as a group. Yeah. And like, that is a testament to his greatness. Because think about how dominant that Heat team was. They went to the finals every year. They were together with LeBron, Wade, and Bosh. So I don't get why there is pushback. Do you think that Melo will have his number retired within the next 5 years, let's say?
Yeah, I think this was I think this will be the push that gets King retired, and then once Bernard gets retired, then Melo will get retired. So I think there's a very, very strong possibility that both those guys have their numbers up within, I would say, even less than 5 years, 3 years, something like that.
I remember really hoping Bernard gets it up there because that's the one that just bothered me for so long. My dad,
and we've talked about this before. He's in the arena a lot. He's always in the Garden. He's always at that.
I think that's the penance Dolan pays. Because there's no way Bernard's paying for those tickets. Those tickets are $5,000 every night.
So at least so he must have at least a solid relationship. So that would make me think that nothing personal, because Dolan would do it out of spite and just obviously Oakley would never be up for debate. But I think Bernard does. I think he does.
I think Dolan. I think Dolan is not. I don't think it's spite. I think he's saying, hey, we'll bring you to every game. We want you to be a part because a lot of fans love you. But I do think Dolan thinks that thing should be selective. And that's why I think he's the reason why Bernard's number's not up there. But I think this is kind of a way to say, oh, okay, well, at least we'll give you tickets to come to any Knick game you want, essentially, and sit on the baseline, which, again, those are $5,000, $10,000 tickets. Yep. So, like, there is that there. But I agree. I think that now there's going to be this pushback. Because if he puts Melo's number up there for Bernard King, that will be a problem. And that would be really – and I'm not saying that Dolan won't do silly things, but that'd be really silly.
I wouldn't put past Dolan. But there'll be a public pushback, big time.
Right. It'd be silly because, like, this is something that's a positive thing. Anytime a guy gets a number retired, there's positivity behind it. Now, of course, again, there's a segment of Knicks fans who think he should be up there, but they'll be drowned out by people who will be excited. Yes. The overall NBA community will be excited. Yes. Fans around the world will be excited. Fans around the country will be excited. So it will just be a great moment. The only way he can soil that is by saying we're going to do it before Bernard King, or at the very least, not announcing. Maybe it's like a date. Say, okay, Melo will be on December 7th and Bruno Bernard on February 18th. Like that's fine. I don't think anybody would go crazy about that, as long as it's clear that Bernard King's number will be up there eventually. But that is something that has to happen. Because
there was some talk that Melo would be retired when the Nuggets come to the Garden this year. But again, I think it would be important to at least announce Bernard King prior.
And speaking on that, Denver needs to retire Melo's number 2.
Yes.
Now, Jokic wears his number, and they could grandfather it in. But, like...
Same with Randall and King.
Right. Exactly. Just like with Randall. Like, Randall could keep wearing it, and then whenever he moves on or he retires a Knick, then the 30 is done. Yep. But, like, Melo absolutely should have his number retired. The Nuggets, when Melo got there, I think they won 17 games. The year he got drafted.
They won a combined 43 games the 2 years before he arrived, and then won 42 when he arrived. And his numbers with the Nuggets are better than his numbers with the Knicks. He's played more games with the Nuggets, has more points, more postseason wins. 100% should have his number retired. And the Nuggets obviously don't have the same storied history as the Knicks, so there's no reason why it's not like
Melo was an absolute. He was a dog with the Denver Nuggets, and I am hoping, and I put it out there on Twitter, and I'll say it here, A, his number should be retired, and B, I'm hoping he gets an invite to one of these NBA Finals games. Like, I think he needs to be there.
He should be in Denver. Yeah, I know George Karl has been calling for. I think some other Denver folks have been saying, like, we need to bring the game back together. Wilson Chandler and all those, Andre Miller and AI and those.
Chauncey Billups. I know Chauncey Billups is coach, but he
right.
I don't see why he couldn't.
But either way, Melo certainly. I would expect. I assume the NBA will do the right thing. It's a no-brainer. A PR opportunity, and Melo loves the publicity and Hollywood stuff. So I would be shocked if he wasn't out in Denver for Game 1.
I hope so, because it's felt weird that relationship since Melo left. I mean, I guess that happens, but they don't really promote Melo much when they talk about the history of this franchise. Again, they've never brought him to any of these games. They've been in playoff games and stuff up until this point, and he hasn't been there.
It's your hot girlfriend left a small hometown to go to the big city, and so like I understand there's some jealousy there, and but it's been 10 years. Get over it. It's time to move on.
Yeah, I mean, I sat there and I was there for 2 Melo ovations this year. One on Christmas, one during Game 2 in the Eastern Conference semifinals at the Garden, and the second one I said I really hope Melo gets this in Denver. He needs to get this in Denver at some point. Like what he brought to that community, what he brought to that team.
That's true.
Absolutely a legend for the Nuggets as well. So hopefully that happens. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more content like this. If you want to see more of our videos, be sure to check out our playlist and let us know what you think in the comments below.
Also, don't forget to follow us on social media to stay up to date on our latest podcast ventures. Links will be in the descriptions. And as always, thanks for watching, and we will see you in our next video.